back, everyone. I hope you're all doing well, wherever you are, whatever time it may be. Luckily, the storms didn't hit my area as hard as was predicted. Although there is a lot of flooding, there was no damage and everyone's safe. And I thank God for that. I will continue praying for everyone out there that wasn't as lucky with the storms as me and my family. There's probably a lot of people that are out there heartbroken and suffering tonight. Let's try to remember those folks and keep in mind how blessed we are. Tonight's going to be a longer upload as, guys, we're celebrating 10,000 subscribers. And I appreciate every single one of you. I cannot thank you enough. So to show my appreciation and gratitude, you're going to get 6 new encounters tonight. I'm not sure how long this is going to be, but it doesn't matter because I'm doing it anyway. Before I get into it, if you're here and you're listening and you've had an encounter, please consider sharing. If you are in fact willing to share your encounter with us, my email will be in the description of this video. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Now let's go ahead and get into tonight's encounters. Everyone grab a drink, lock your doors and windows, hit the lights, and let's get started. Hello. I don't tell this story to just anyone. Not anymore. Most people I've told don't believe me, and I can't really blame them. But I know what I saw. And I know what hunted us that night in the swamps. This happened in 2007. I was 26, working the oil fields in Louisiana, making damn good money but running myself into the ground. A few of the guys, E, P, and V, suggested a weekend hunting trip. Just a few days in the woods away from work and everything else. V knew a good spot, a hunting cabin his uncle used to own, way out in the Atchafalaya Basin. The place had been abandoned for years, but it was still standing. No cell service, no paved roads, just a cabin in the middle of nowhere. I've never been a superstitious type of person, but looking back, I should have known something was wrong the moment we got there, as I felt it. The cabin was literally rotting. Half the roof was caved in, the porch was sagging. But it wasn't just the condition of the place. It was the silence of the woods surrounding it. The swamp is never quiet, as most people that's been around there know. There is always something making noises. But as we pulled up, everything went dead. All I heard was the wind cutting through the trees. V hesitated a bit before getting out of the truck. He said I forgot how much I hate this place. I just laughed at him, thinking, well, you brought us here. But I saw the way he kept glancing at the trees, and it made me very uneasy. We all settled in, had a few beers, and turned in for the night. It was probably around 1, maybe 2 a.m., and I woke up needing to take a piss. I stepped outside, and that's when I noticed it again. That eerie silence, it just wasn't normal. Out of nowhere, I started hearing footsteps, slow and heavy, moving just inside the tree line, out of sight. I stopped and began listening. The steps circled the cabin, stopping for long stretches, then starting again. I felt like whatever it was listening to me as well. I backed inside and locked the door. I didn't wake the others, maybe I should have. The next morning, we split up to hunt. E and I went north. V and P went south. We agreed to meet back at the cabin by sunset. We didn't get far before E stopped and asked me if I see that. I followed where he was staring, and something was moving through the trees about 60 yards away. At first, I thought for sure it was a black bear. What else would be that big? And that's when it stood up. This thing was huge. It was standing every inch of 7 feet tall, and it was covered in dark, thick fur. It had these long arms that were too long in the forearm section, and they were hanging down low, longer than any man's arms. But the head was shaped like a wolf's, with a long snout, and it had the pointed ears on top of the head. Its eyes were a deep set and yellow, and they were staring straight at us in a way that made my stomach tie in knots. Now listen, man, I know what people say and the excuses they make of misidentification and all sorts of BS. I've been hunting since I was a kid. I've seen bears, I've seen everything, wild dogs, mountain lions, you name it. But I have never, and I repeat, never seen anything that looked at me the way this thing did. It's like it wasn't scared at all, like it wasn't about to run, like it was almost deciding. E raised his rifle before I could stop him, and he fired a shot. The shot echoed through the trees, and the thing dropped, not down, but forward onto all fours. It moved so fast I barely saw it as it ran off into the underbrush. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. We heard something else, and it wasn't footsteps or growling. It was these deep, raspy breaths. Slow, deep breaths coming from multiple directions all around us. I just looked at Eddie and said, "We have to run. There's more than one of these things." We didn't stop until we got back to the cabin. V and P were not back yet, and the sun was starting to dip, and we waited. By the time night fell, we still hadn't heard from them. Then, somewhere around 8 p.m., we heard something outside. It sounded like someone or something was slowly dragging something sharp along the walls outside. First one side of the cabin, then another, like it was circling us. E grabbed his rifle and was ready to fire again. He was a bit trigger happy, and I can't really blame him. He crept to the window, and his face, I watched it go pale. He said, "They're out there." I moved beside him and looked. There were 2 of them outside. One stood just at the edge of the trees watching us, and the other was lower to the ground, moving on all fours. They both stopped and turned their heads at the same time. My blood literally turned to ice. Then they started howling. If you could call it a howl, I can't really describe the sound. But I will tell you, it doesn't sound like any coyote or wolf you've ever heard. It's way deeper and sounds somewhat demonic or evil. It just sounds like something wrong. I locked the door and backed away. E sat in the corner, gripping his rifle. Neither one of us spoke a word during this time. We just sat there in the dark and listened to those things as they prowled around outside. We were wondering where the other 2 were and getting worried. Hours passed, and the scratching sounds finally stopped and the howls faded. And then, after hours of torture, around 3 a.m., we heard more footsteps. Human footsteps. It was P and V. We could hear them screaming to open the door. They had been hiding in the truck, watching the entire time. We had no idea they were out there. They saw everything. But both of them refused to talk about what happened. We were out of there. We all agreed it was time to go. Two of us stood watch with our rifles as the other two loaded all the gear into the truck. We hauled ass out of there, never to go back. P and V moved away, and sometimes I talk to them. It's not very often, but we try to keep in touch. E left Louisiana as well, about a month after this happened. He moved to Texas. Never spoke to any of us again. I have no idea where he is or if he's even alive. Me, I've tried to forget. But there's nights sometimes, even now, years later, I wake up in sheets soaked with sweat. Sometimes I think I'm hearing footsteps outside my window, but I don't know if I'm dreaming or not. I check my porch sometimes after hearing these sounds. I never find anything. I've never seen anything like that ever again. And God help me, I can't say that I want to. Thanks for your time. Phil. I finally emailed you, Reels. I felt like it was something that I needed to do. I've been listening to your channel for quite a while, months actually. I always love listening to other people's encounters. It kinda helps me feel like I'm not crazy after having my own. Before it happened, never in a million years did I think that I'd be in this situation, dealing with something like this. It destroyed me, really. My hands are literally shaking as I'm typing this. My encounter happened in the Mark Twain National Forest near Springfield, Missouri. It has me questioning everything I thought I knew about the woods and everything else, to be honest. I'm 28, single, and I've been camping alone since I was a late teenager. It's my way of settling myself, getting away from the city. No cell phones, just me and nature. I picked a spot about 20 miles southeast of Springfield, in the Ozarks off a dirt road. It's a real place, miles of rolling hills, thick pines, and little creeks cutting through it. I found this clearing last summer near Crane Creek. It's a quiet little stream that's good for fishing. Got there Friday afternoon, set up my tent, a little two-man job with a rain fly, and I spent most of the evening casting for trout. I caught two and cooked them over the fire. Everything was perfect, just as I'd planned. The stars were out, the creek was babbling, and I felt like I'd hit reset on my life. That peace did not last, unfortunately. It was late, or early into the morning, I should say, when everything went to shit. I'd been asleep for about an hour, probably, curled up in my sleeping bag, when this loud snap jolted me awake. You know how it is in the woods. Every sound is amplified at night. My mind was working like a rational individual, and I figured it was just a deer or possibly a raccoon messing with my cooler, so I just laid there listening. Then came another snap, a lot closer, a lot louder, followed by this heavy, uneven crunching like something big walking through the underbrush, not caring at all about being stealthy. My heart started pounding at this point, and I told myself that it was just an animal, nothing to worry about, it would pass on. I've run into black bears out here before, not a big deal. I grabbed my flashlight, a little LED one I keep by my pillow. I unzipped the tent flap and peeked out. My light cut through not very far, and at first I didn't see anything but pines and a glint of Crane Creek. But as soon as I swung the light to my left toward where I'd hung my food bag in a tree, and sure enough, there it was. This thing was standing there. It couldn't have been more than 30 feet away from my tent, and it was barely standing out of the edge of my light. It was tall. I don't know, I would guess probably 8-9 feet. It was huge. It was standing on 2 legs like a person, but it wasn't. It was clearly not human. Its body was covered in gray fur, and it looked like it was wet because it was shiny, like it had been wading through the creek. Its arms were very muscular, and its chest was super thick. It had a giant hunch on its back, and it had these nasty, gnarled-looking hands and that ended with thick black claws. The head is what's burned into my brain. It looked like a German shepherd, sorta, but it was a lot bigger and the snout was too wide. The ears were 7 to 8 inches standing straight up off of the top of its head. When my light hit it in the face, its eyes flared up yellow, glowing like a cat's, and it just stared at me. I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything, I didn't know what to do. It just stood there, and I was watching its chest heaving as it was taking these deep breaths. I could even hear it breathing. It kinda sounded like a growl, but it wasn't. I could hear it over the sounds of the creek. I don't know how long we stared at each other. It couldn't have been more than 5 seconds. But then, all of a sudden, it dropped down to all fours as smooth as anything, and took off like a bullet into the trees. It moved so fast, like a dog chasing a rabbit, but silent, except for just a small bit of crunching of leaves. I stayed there, flashlight shaking in my hand, waiting for it to come back. It never did. But I did hear this low howl about an hour later. Sounded like it was miles away. It was echoing through the forest from the direction of the Gasconade River, which was miles away. I didn't sleep after that. I sat up all night with nothing but a pocket knife in my hand, and I would jump at every sound until the sun came up. As soon as it was light, I packed everything up and got out of there. I didn't even stop to eat. My tent still got mud on it from where I yanked the stakes out too fast. I keep replaying everything in my head, the way that thing looked at me, like it was sizing me up. Not only have I listened to your channel, but I've listened to many others for a long time. I've heard all of these Dogman encounters, and this matches too much to be a coincidence. Was that what I saw? I'm not going back to that spot. Maybe not anywhere near the Ozarks. What do you think? Am I losing it? Or is this real? Tyler from Missouri. Tyler, my friend, you literally saw this thing with your own eyes. What do you think? Was it real? Don't let this thing completely wreck your mind and make you doubt what you saw. And don't let other people convince you that you didn't see what you saw. You know what you saw. You encountered a Dogman, brother. That's a fact. Yo, Reels. I've been driving trucks cross country for many years. I've seen every kind of roadkill, weather, and weirdo that you can name. I've never put any stock into people's ghost stories or the Bigfoot crap. I always figured people who see that stuff are either drunk, high, or looking for attention. But last year, something happened on U.S. Route 93 in Nevada, north of Caliente. It's got me second-guessing my own damn senses, and I'm mad as hell about it. I've been meaning to email you since I found your channel a while back. I usually listen to your vids on my Bluetooth while I'm hauling freight, but I didn't expect to be doing this, to be honest. It was a Tuesday night just past midnight. I was running a load of freight from Reno to Las Vegas. I was cutting through that stretch of 93 where it's just desert and mountains for miles. If you've never driven it, it passes through places like Caliente and Panaca. I have no idea if that's right, sorry. But mostly it's empty, with nothing but sand and sagebrush. The sky was clear, the moon was full, visibility was good. I'd been on the road for about 6 hours, sipping coffee to stay sharp, when I, out of nowhere, hit something. I felt it through the wheel, a solid thump like I'd rolled over a tire or a big animal. I cussed a little under my breath, figuring it was just a coyote or a deer. I'd hit many of them. They usually wander too close to the highway and smack. I didn't see anything in my mirrors, so I pulled over on the shoulder just past the turnoff for State Route 319 to check my rig for damage. The last thing I needed is a busted axle or blood all over my undercarriage slowing me down. I grabbed my mag light and a tire iron, just in case, and climbed out. The air was cold, the dry desert chill that bites your skin, and the silence was heavy. It was broke up only by the hum of my truck still running. I walked around the truck shining the light under the chassis, but there was nothing there. No body, no blood, not even a scrap of fur. It was weird, but I just figured whatever it was must have bounced off and limped away into the scrub. And that's when I found out differently that the thing that I hit was in fact still close by. I was hit with this low, rumbling, deep growl like a big dog with something stuck in its throat. It was coming from across the road, out in the dark beyond where my headlights could see. It was toward the foothills of the Meadow Valley Mountains. I swung the flashlight over thinking I'd catch a coyote or maybe a stray mutt. But what I saw has changed my life forever. This thing was standing there, not far enough away from me, right where the pavement meets the dirt. It looked like a wolf at first, big, broad shoulders, black fur that looked greasy and matted. But it was standing upright. Had to be at least 7 feet tall, easy. Its arms were freakish. They were hanging down past its waist, with these long, curved claws. The head, it had a snout like a dog, but it was too long and narrow. It had tall, pointed ears, and they were pinned back, and I could see its mouth was open, and it had huge teeth that was showing when it snarled. Its eyes were glowing red, not yellow like most encounters I've heard. These were red like brake lights staring back at me. It wasn't moving, it was kind of swaying back and forth as it growled and watched me. It tilted its head like it was curious, like a dog. I didn't know what else to do, so I started yelling at it and waved the tire iron, figuring it would scare it off. That's when it started taking steps toward me, still walking on two legs. It let out this deep barking roar that made my chest vibrate, and it made me dizzy. I'm not ashamed to say that I damn near dropped my flashlight. Then it just turned and ran. It dropped to all fours and tore across the desert toward the mountains so fast it was almost a blur. I just stood there in shock, listening to the sound of its claws kicking up dirt as it faded off in the distance. It took me 10 minutes to get back in the cab, and I locked the doors like that would do anything. I drove the rest of the way to Vegas with the radio off, literally swerving and jumping at every shadow along 93. I've been over it 100 times in my head. This wasn't a bear. Bears don't run like that. This definitely wasn't someone in the costume. Nobody is that fast or that big or that crazy to be out there near Caliente. I'm starting to think that it was for sure a Dogman. But I don't want to believe it. I've got another run on 93 actually next week, and I'm dreading it. What's your take? I don't want to be the nut job trucker seeing monsters, but I can't unsee this. Thank you for listening. Big Jim. Hi, Real Adventures. Okay, I've been obsessed with your channel since my friends showed it to me back in December. Your Dogman vids are literally the best, and I watch them every night with my headphones on so my mom doesn't yell at me to go to bed. I'm 16. I live in Tillamook, Oregon. This little town on the coast about an hour west of Portland. I never thought anything cool or scary would happen to me here. But it was only 2 years ago, I swear I saw a Dogman in my freaking backyard near the Tillamook State Forest, and I'm still freaking out, even after this long. I had to tell you because you're the expert. No, not even close. I'm dying to know what you think. So here's what happened. My parents are super strict, but I had been sneaking out regularly to hang with my friend Ethan. He lives like a mile away on Bay Ocean Road, and we usually just sit in his garage and play video games or whatever. Wow, way to tell on yourself to thousands of people. Don't sneak out, kids. That night was really foggy, like a horror movie level foggy. You get that a lot here with the ocean and the forest. It's so close. I was cutting through my backyard to get to the street. We live on Trask Road, right where the houses start thinning out and the Tillamook State Forest takes over. It's all huge pine trees, ferns, and muddy trails back there. Creepy, even in the daytime. I was texting Ethan to let him know I was on my way when I heard this weird noise. It sounded like something digging in the dirt. I thought it was my neighbor's dumb Labrador, Max, who's always escaping and sniffing around our trash cans, so I just didn't pay much attention to it at first. But then I looked up, and sure enough, it wasn't the neighbor's dog. There was something right by the trees where our yard meets the forest. This thing was huge, way taller than my dad, who's 6'2", and he's the tallest person I know. It was standing on two legs covered in brown fur that looked like it was tangled. Its arms were long and skinny with these creepy hands that had claws like eagle talons or something. The head was the scariest part. It did look like a dog's head. It was very similar, but this thing wasn't cute at all. It had a very long snout, pointy ears that I could see twitching, and these glowing red eyes that were looking straight in my direction. It definitely had spotted me. Its eyes looked like little laser dots, and it was sniffing the air, its head jerking side to side in a weird motion. It stopped jerking its head and just laser focused onto me and made this sound. It was kind of like a howl, but not like a wolf. It was high-pitched and screamy, mixed with this barking growl that made my stomach hurt. I dropped my phone in the grass and just stood there like an idiot too scared to move. It took one giant step toward me, still on two legs, and I could see its muscles moving under its skin. It was like it was super strong, not just big. The fog made it look even creepier, like it was floating or something. That's when I snapped out of it and ran back to the house, tripping over my stupid flip-flops and scraping my knee on the patio. I slammed the door and locked it, then peeked out the window, but it was gone. It was swallowed up by the trees or the fog. I don't know. My mom came downstairs yelling about the noise, and I told her what I saw. But she just said I was imagining things because I watched too many weird videos. She thinks the forest is just full of deer and owls, but she's wrong. I went back out the following morning to get my phone. It was still there, thank God. And I found these huge scratches all over our wooden fence. It was like that thing or something had clawed it and trying to get over it. These scratches are deep, way too big for a bear or a cougar, which we do have around here sometimes. I took a blurry pic of the thing when I first saw it, but you can only kinda see its shape because my hands were shaking so badly. I'll send it to you if you want, but it's really blurry and not of much use, I don't think. Send it. I would like to see it. I'm too scared to sneak out after that. That's probably a good thing. Ethan's mad that I keep bailing on him, but I really don't care. Has anyone ever heard of dogmen living in the Tillamook State Forest? Please, if you have to talk about this. I need to know if anyone else has seen one of these things in this area. Reels, you have to read my email on your channel. Please. I'd totally die if you read my story. Kayla. Well, Kayla, I really don't want you to die, but guess what? I read your email on the channel. Thanks for sending it in. I appreciate it. And listen to your parents stop sneaking out at night, please. It's too dangerous. Mr. Reels, I ain't much for this internet nonsense. My grandson Tommy set up this email for me and showed me how to use it. The only time I ever do this internet stuff is mostly getting my grandson to help me order parts for my farm equipment without driving into town. He's the one who got me watching your videos a few months back. Said I'd like 'em 'cause I've always got stories from my years out here. I'm 73 and I've been farming the same 80 acres of land in southeastern Kentucky since I was a boy. This is real country, rolling hills, hollers, and the Daniel Boone, just a few miles east. I raise cattle, hogs, and a few chickens for eggs. I've dealt with every critter you can think of. Coyotes, foxes, and even though they say they're not here, even a mountain lion once back in '89. But what I saw about 10 years ago ain't nothing I've come across in all my time. And it's got me very uneasy in a way that I ain't been since I was a kid scared of the dark. It started with the chickens. I've got a coop out back. They were maybe 50 yards from the house. I had built it sturdy with wire mesh and a good latch. It keeps the hawks and weasels out just fine. But one night something tore into it like it was made of straw. I woke up to the hens squawking like the devil himself was after 'em. I rolled out of bed, pulled on my boots, and grabbed my 12-gauge and a lantern. My wife, God rest her, used to say I'd run out to face a tornado if it messed with my livestock, and I reckon she was right. The clock said 1:30, I remember. The sky was overcast, no moon to speak of, just the dark pressing in on the farm. I got out there and found the coop a mess. The door was ripped clean off its hinges. The wire bent inward like something punched through it. 6 hens were gone, feathers were everywhere, and the rest were huddled in the corner, clucking like they'd lost their minds. I figured it was just a bear. Had one raid my trash a few years before, so I started looking for tracks in the soft dirt around the coop. I found tracks all right. I saw more than just its tracks. I saw it. It was crouched over one of my birds near the edge of the pasture where the land slopes down toward the woods. This weren't no bear. It was built like a man, broad shoulders and long legs. But it was covered from head to toe in dark reddish fur, thick and matted like a hound. It stood up slow when my lantern light hit it. It had to be over 8 foot tall, maybe more. It turned its head toward me. Its face was like a dog's, but a lot meaner, with a snout full of teeth and its ears pinned back tight. Its eyes caught the light and was shining green, bright as fireflies, and it just stared at me, blood dripping from its jaws where it'd been tearing into that hen. I ain't a man who spooks easy, but my hands started trembling on that shotgun. It didn't come after me. It was almost like it was daring me to do something. I could hear it breathing, heavy and wet, over the sound of the wind. I hollered at it and fired a shot into the air. The blast echoed and hurt my ears, but it didn't seem to faze that thing. Finally, a few seconds after firing the gun, it finally moved. It slowly, in this weird, jerky movement, dropped to all fours, and I heard something popping like joints, and it just loped off toward the Daniel Boone, moving fast but smooth. I could hear the thing crashing through the trees for a good minute after it disappeared, along a creek that runs on the back side of the property. I went back out the next morning at first light and started inspecting the tracks. These were big tracks, deep prints, and I could see where the claw marks had sunk into the ground. They were way too wide for a bear and too long for a wolf. They were leading right to the forest edge. I've been chewing on this for a long time now. I told my grandson, and he said it sounds like that I saw a Dogman. I ain't one for fairy tales or boogeymen. I've lived too long for that. But I trust what I saw with my eyes, and it wasn't natural, I do know that. The chickens still won't lay, and I'm keeping the gun by my door now, at all times. I watch that tree line every night, and I have for years from my porch. I haven't seen it again, but I have a feeling that it's still out there and it may come back. Do you reckon it was a Dogman? It sure sounds like one to me. I'd be obliged to get a response, and even more so, to hear your thoughts. Earl. I've been meaning to write you for weeks, but every time I sit down to do so, I freeze up and I just can't do it. I don't really want to tell this to anyone else. My friends would think I'm nuts, and my therapist would most likely up my meds. I usually listen to your channel late at night when I can't sleep. It may be weird, and I'll admit it, but I sometimes get a thrill out of listening to other people's encounters. But sometimes, I'll admit this as well, they hit a little too close to home. I'm not sure I can handle this, but here we go. I saw something in the High Peaks region of Adirondack Park, New York. It's got me scared to even step outside of my apartment in Albany, let alone go back into the woods. I'm 34 and I live in upstate New York, and I've been hiking by myself since I was in my 20s. Work's a grind, and the trails are where I feel most alive. I drove up to the Adirondacks for a 3-day loop on the Northville Placid Trail starting near Long Lake. It was about 25 miles of rugged forest, lakes, and ridges in the High Peaks area, perfect for getting lost in nature. I packed my usual gear, a tent, a stove, water filter, a bear bag, the works. First day was fine, weather was crisp, leaves were turning red and gold, no one else was around. But that night, I camped by a little stream off the trail. I started feeling off. You know that prickly sensation like someone's watching you? I chalked it up to being alone, hung my food bag in a tree, and went to bed. On the second day, things got wild. I was breaking camp when I heard sticks snapping behind me. It wasn't loud, but it was steady, like something was pacing me. I turned around expecting to see a deer or a fox, but nothing was there. Nothing. I kept hiking, but the feeling didn't go away. Around noon, I stopped to refill my water at Cold River and found these tracks in the mud. They were the biggest paw prints from a canine I'd ever seen in my life. They were similar to a wolf, but probably 2 to 3 times the size. I took a picture, told myself it had to be a bear with some weird feet, and just kept going. But that night was when it showed itself to me. I'd set up camp in a small open area near Duck Hole. I built a fire and was heating up some ramen when I heard rustling just beyond the light. I figured it was just a small animal, maybe a raccoon, so I grabbed a stick just to shoo it off. The stick wasn't going to help me. This thing stepped into the edge of the firelight. Massive. I won't even try to guess how tall, but trust me, this thing was big. It was hunched over, but still towering over me. It had gray fur, and it was patchy and mangy like it was missing hair and spots. This thing had a chest like a barrel and arms that dangled low. Its head was like a pit bull's but stretched out. The snout was long. The ears were pointy like it was tracking every sound. Its eyes were probably the worst part for me. They were this nasty orange glowing in the flickering light. It stank, too, like wet dog mixed with something rotten, strong enough to make my eyes begin watering. This thing just paced back and forth, growling low in its throat. I threw rocks at it, but it barely flinched. It just kept circling. I don't know how long it was out there, maybe 20 minutes, but it felt like hours. Finally, it went back into the trees toward the West Canada lakes, and I thought that it was gone. That's when the loud howling started. Deep, mournful howls through the valley. They were close at first, but I heard them moving farther away each time. Then It would come close again like it was playing with me. I couldn't sleep. I just sat by the fire after I built it up bigger with my flashlight, as I had no weapons at all, not even a knife. I was feeding it sticks till dawn broke over the peaks. I packed up and hiked out double time, 12 miles straight to the trailhead at Long Lake, jumping at every noise. I swore I heard it. Twigs snapping, the growling. It was faint, but there. When I hit my car, I practically ran to it. I haven't been able to sleep right for one night since that. I keep dreaming about that creature, its eyes, even the smell. That picture of the tracks is still on my phone, but I can't even look at it. I know for a fact what I saw was a dogman. Did it follow me out of the Adirondacks? I'm terrified this thing knows where I am. Tell me what you think. I need to know if I'm in danger. Sarah K. Sarah, these things are known to track people to their homes, but if it had, you would know by now, so I think you're okay. Just keep an eye out and stay vigilant. If it's around, it'll make itself known. Well, legends, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's upload. And I really hope that everyone out there is safe and blessed beyond measure. I haven't heard anything else from Mr. Dogman Hunter, but I'm hoping that he will get in contact with me again soon. I'm definitely concerned for his well-being, but again, I tried to talk him out of this, but there was just no swaying his decision. I want to thank everyone that stopped by tonight and stuck around and listened to the entire upload. I also want to thank each one of these individuals for emailing me their encounters. These were some truly horrifying events, and I truly feel for each one of you. I hope that telling your story has somehow eased your burden. Please stay safe out there. You know what you saw, don't doubt yourself. Anybody listening that's new here, if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so, as it will help the channel with the algorithm. The more we spread awareness, the more people know that these things are real and they're out there. This is, after all, the main goal. And to all of you out there that have become members of the channel to help me out, I cannot praise you guys enough for supporting the channel with a little extra. You have no idea how much that's going to help me with the lights and all the equipment. Thank you so much, and you guys know exactly who you are. If anyone else is interested in helping out just a tad, the link to the membership will be in the description along with my email. Remember, it's not something you have to do. It's only if you want to. Please also like and share the video. That would help more than anything, as these things only take just a second of your time and it helps the channel more than you can imagine. Well, that's going to do it, legends. I'll talk to you guys soon. I love you all, and until next time, my friends, watch over your loved ones, keep your head on a swivel, and as always, good night.